All right, we are green brothers and sisters. Welcome back. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors, and the place where we only talk about pretty much freedom on the daily. We talk about the gun rights, we talk about the country, we talk about how we're going to chart a course towards freedom, backhanding tyranny everywhere we find it, no matter the location, rhino or dem. And that's what we're all about, because right now the Trump administration came from the weeds, throwing support behind an initiative to get rid of all the veteran disarmament schemes that have been planned against the people who gave up so much for our country. This is what I'm talking about. More of this right now. As you guys get in here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. We have got some freedom to distribute, and it starts right now with protecting those that protect us. Go team veterans. All right. As you get in here, we've got audio, we've got video. Excellent. This is what I'm talking about on a Sunday, and what a way to wrap up a week. By the way, in the next 30 minutes, you guys get exclusive access to the little warm up here. Me and Bill Kirk from Washington Gun Law, we're going to be jumping over to our X Spaces. It'll be on my account. Make sure you follow me at Braden LOA. You can get in there. It's open format. We have conversations. It's a lot of fun. It's open mic when you guys have questions. Just the two of us, about an hour. Make sure you check it out. Follow that account. Let's go check this out, people, as you get filtered in here. So one of the things that is the bane of my existence is the idea that we would punish those that gave up so much for us, right? I have a soft spot for veterans in this country, those that gave up their blood, sweat, tears, their friends, a lot of the emotional connections with their family, the time in this country, their potential careers that they would have had if they didn't do it, for something greater than themselves. And by the way, we directly benefit from their actions. And for the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. to come in and do this kind of crap, it makes me so mad. Now, here's the backstory. If you're not familiar, we've been covering this story for about 7-8 months now. This is the story where they disarm veterans because they can't balance a checkbook. So if some bureaucrats decide that the veterans can't balance a checkbook appropriately, so therefore they're recommended to be put on the NICS system to not buy guns, which would be voiding their Second Amendment rights. That's the premise, okay? So here's what happens from Gun Owners of America. Again, this is one of my things. I will fight this until we can't fight anymore. The Trump administration has announced support for the GOA-backed Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act. This would permanently prevent the Department of Veterans Affairs bureaucrats from disarming veterans. Last year, GOA forced Joe Biden to sign an identical but temporary provision into law. Now, we covered when it happened and that temporary provision was put into law because they were forced to do it. Now, let me show you what just happened. This is what we're talking about. Before I show you what this guy in the top says, I want to remind you of where we were at with this bureaucrat. So this is the update of what I'm about to read you, and everything's always linked. The bureaucrats who told House Veteran Affairs he wouldn't restore veterans' gun rights, even if Congress passed the GOA-backed bill, is now testifying before the Senate on the 2A Protection Act. So if you remember this, let me hear you in the chat, in the comments. But for those who didn't hear it, let's revisit what this guy said to sitting members of Congress regarding taking away the rights of veterans. Check this out.
VA's testimony stated that if the Veterans Second Amendment Restoration Act is signed into law, and this is even more troubling, the VA could not comply because the VA states the Department of Justice, an executive branch agency, affirmed VA's interpretation of the Brady Act. So, is it the VA's position that the VA will not comply with an act of Congress based on another agency's interpretation of the law?
So the VA has always works to comply with all laws. We complied with the Brady Handgun Act when it was in fact the law.
So again, is the VA's position, because based on the statement they could not comply with the Restoration Act, the Veterans Second Amendment Restoration Act, is it your position that you will not comply with an act of law passed by Congress?
Yes, sir. I guess based off of what you have in testimony, yes, sir.
Okay, so someone in the chat right now is asking, what's a disarmament plan? That is taking guns from individuals. That's what a disarmament plan is. It's a broad plan that would basically apply to the population to take guns away and infringe upon the Second Amendment rights. That's what a disarmament plan would be. So what you just heard, if you were listening to that, he literally just told a sitting member of Congress in committee that the Veterans Affairs was not going to listen to law passed by Congress because they don't have to. This is the bureaucrat at the Veterans Affairs Bureau. Okay, so I'm going to just let that sink in for a second. And then we're going to play the rest of this. Then I'll show you what's happening today. Again, this is a flashback from 6 months ago. Watch this.
That you would not comply.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm glad everybody hears that on the record that the VA is going to refuse to comply with, regardless of what we actually pass here, including questions that Representative Self was just asking in view of the Chevron Act being passed.
He's speechless.
Mr. Chair, I have just a couple more questions, but I think that Mr. Friel has incriminated himself and the VA that they're going to have complete disregard for what we're going to do anyway. So
Mr. Friel,
Okay, so there's one more piece to this, just to remind you guys. He openly just told Congress, we're not going to listen to your laws. And someone just said in the comments they should have been fired that day. Yeah, he should have been fired that day, 100%. But, hey, he's a bureaucrat, and they can't get fired. That's the whole premise of D.C. That's the swamp. But anyway, so he's going to stop asking his questions, and then the chairman, who is a veteran, says this, and then we'll fast forward to where we are now.
You're very well aware of how you just answered the congressman's question, correct?
sir, as I said, it's in our testimony that we would have trouble complying with that law. As I said,
We would have
Mr.
trouble.
Friel, you're very well aware of how you answered the congressman's question.
yes, sir.
Oh, sweet Lord. Okay, so Luttrell even says, so you heard yourself say that, right? Yep, I did. Okay, we have a problem. But now, that's the backstory. So now let's fast forward to what the Trump administration is saying, because that was under the Biden administration, what I just showed you. Let's fast forward to what the Trump administration is saying on the same bill. Listen to this.
VA also supports the Second Amendment Protection Act, subject to the availability of appropriations, but recommends including language that would clearly exempt an individual deemed incompetent for purposes of the VA fiduciary program from being adjudicated as a mental defective as defined by the Department of Justice.
Okay, so that is really important to understand, that language, because what they were doing and what they are doing currently is they are saying, hey, you are mentally adjudicated as incompetent. You can't manage your checkbook, therefore you can't have your gun rights. Sure, you fought for your country, and sure, you bled and sweat and lost friends, family members, time, all the things we mentioned before for something greater than yourself, but no gun rights for you because you can't manage your checkbook. Okay. Well, so what they're saying here is, no, we're going to use the exact language specific and get it removed. Now, listen to what it says without the clarification.
Without this clarification, veterans or survivors determined to need a fiduciary for VA purposes may face criminal liability when transferring, receiving, or possessing a firearm or ammunition. VA also supports.
Did you hear that? Firearm or ammunition. I'm going to bring it back so you can see the text right here. Criminal penalties for possession, transfer, or a firearm or ammunition. Guys, this is what they've been doing in the bureaucracy on the back end. This is what the Trump administration just came out and said. We fully support the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act to prevent the veterans from being disarmed by rogue bureaucrats. Like this guy right here who openly and willingly says to Congress, we aren't going to listen to what you say. Whoa, easy. Legitimately. Yeah, we got a problem. And the problem's the bureaucrats. But I'll be honest with you guys, we are winning this bad boy, and we're going to walk into that even more tonight on the Twitter Spaces or the X Spaces right there with me and Bill from Washington Gun Law. It's going to be a party. Make sure you subscribe over there, you follow, and I will make it go live in about 10 minutes. So if you guys happen to watch the live, you get the previous morning, and I will see you on the next one, guys. I'm Braden. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.